Welcome back, everybody, to Vienna Spring Break and the high-octane action that's kicking into fifth gear as we enter the semi-finals, the Final Four, the showdown of the show-offs, as these sides have been very impressive so far throughout this tournament. We are seeing Spice from London taking on Catchup from Graz, as it may be a surprise to some of you to learn. These two teams battling it out, both of them with European ambitions and trying to fight their way forward, establishing themselves. Catchup obviously been around for a long time, but made Euros for the first time last year. And of course, Spice, a relatively newer club, a couple of seasons under their belt, as they continue to establish themselves on both the European and the domestic scene.
Yeah, both these teams taking part in the UCS season, and I believe both of them have had a recent spring tour. Last year, Catchup, as you said, making Euros. I believe they came 10th. Spice, I believe, were somewhere in the 20s in the final ranking, so kind of a bit outside of getting to Europe, but like you said, somewhat of a newer team, so they're going to be looking to improve this year.
So Spice not able to make it to EUCF last year, but Catchup Graz finishing 10th, so not too bad at all, and beating their local rivals Box Vienna by one position. So you've got to imagine that's a nice little bit of bragging rights. The time is running. The time is now. As here comes Spice. Let's see what they've been cooking up. Quick throw across to Mance. You see how quickly they want to get going. That's a lovely partnership. Mance and Gibson. Kate Gibson, long-standing stalwart of the UK scene. Across to Mance now, and they're holding onto this disc. 2-3 seconds at the absolute most. Kwok looks to send it back a little bit too far afield, though, and it hits the dirt. So Catchup is able to force the turnover, despite Spice looking very competent at the start of the game. The start of the point. It has quickly resulted in Catchup getting their opening opportunity. A 2-5 setup one more time. Looking to attack that break side. Able to do so on the second one. That is a fantastic grab under pressure. Dor gets it back into the middle. Nice continuation across. This is good stuff from Graz. Brechko, captain of the team, gets it back to down the line. And then back to the captain, Brechko. Break side across. They try to seal. Youngworth outside the end zone. Brechko looking at an open side and trying to throw to a closed space. That's a fantastic flick break and an opening goal for Catchup Graz, 1-0.
Yeah, decent enough start by Spice in terms of the offensive play, moving the disc around. Unfortunate with the turnover. Catchup picking it up, able to score pretty effectively. Really confident, and I think maybe a small bit of what'll be interesting at the start of this game is that I would say I guess the groups were somewhat unbalanced at this tournament because they wanted to get the teams that were playing for ranking points in the same group. So yesterday Catchup got to play Box, they got to play 3SB, and they managed to get a win against East Block and Universe to make it to the semi-finals, whereas I think for Spice, the games they would have played, they would have been lower level competition, and it would have been a bit harder for them to get used to the intensity that they're going to be up against in this game. So it would make sense to me if it takes a couple of points for maybe Spice to kind of get into the zone, as they say, of playing against a top European level team. So obviously there was some good teams in the other group yesterday, but this is the first real team that Spice would be saying, okay, this is a team that on paper they're supposed to probably beat us, but we're looking to cause some problems for teams like this year, and this is a good chance for Spice, first game of the day.
As you hear Catchup Graz screaming for one more. Well, they need 14 more. Gibson with the disc in hand. Gets the quick pop back. And Spice, not quite as quick to get things going right at the start. I gotta say, I like a loud sideline. The 8th defensive player helping put that pressure on. Gibson down the line, gets into power position, decides not to hug it. Instead, a searing inside break and a nice continuation. So Spice not forcing anything too much, taking their time. And another overthrow, just a slight mistake. I was singing their praises and couldn't connect with Gibson. So Catchup Graz, They were calling for one more. They've certainly got the chances. Here it comes on the opposite side. ULTI with a big hook into space. An eager chase can only watch the disc float into the hands of Podstatsky. Podstatsky tries to get the dump off. A little too careless, I have to say, for my taste.
Yeah, really great deep shot there to get that disc, slippy conditions, slight bit of a breeze. Throw it out, perfect throw basically, right out in front of their offensive receiver, and no chance for defender, but then they give it away, and now Spice get another chance.
Fantastic grab, sliding to the floor. Symington back into the center of the waiting hands of Gibson. Gibson across, collected by Mance. Mance and Gibson going to be big players for this side. So you see there Zhang, so another important handler. Gibson makes the shimmy and go, can't get free. Zhang comes back and collects it in the middle of the pitch. That's just textbook dump resetting. I'm a huge fan of when that is executed that effectively. Now Kate Gibson launching, looking downfield, finds Mance. But Mance can't quite find the disc.
Yeah, she had plenty of time. I think just maybe some of those slippy conditions, but I think that one was more of a drop. I don't know if she could blame the conditions too much for that. She had time. Catchup going to get it back underway here again. Center it to the middle.
So Catchup trying to force it down the line, not quite able to. Abby Liu came through and got the block. Took a couple of steps, but nobody seemed to mind. Now it's at Zhang. Zhang gets it back across, and that is very nicely done. Symington finding Beamish.
Yeah, Spice going to be happy just to get that one after a bit of a slower start to the game. Like I said, I think if they can keep it close at the start, and then they'll start to get into their regular rhythm, and we'll see how closely these teams are matched. Again, last year, obviously, on paper and results-wise on the field, it would look like Catchup's their favourites here, but I think Spice are going to get it together a bit here, and obviously last year they probably, one of their early seasons, coming together more. They've had 3 games yesterday, and now they have a good opportunity here to play a tough team. So now they're going to look to play some defense here and see how they go.
So Spice, like you say, maybe didn't quite have the toughest day yesterday, still trying to find their feet. Some big returning players in this season. Kate Gibson picking up gold with deep space last year in the mixed division, returning to Spice to try and build them. Always happy when some of these big capital cities have second teams that are competitive as well. They always good to see like that kind of multiple club culture. Of course, Iceni, the more famous, shall we say, London outfit, although they did fall off a little bit for a couple of years and have been building back up quite effectively recently. That is a sensational grab. It's enough talking about British teams. Let's talk about the Austrians. Catchup Graz, really impressive hands from Justice. Justice gets the swing back out, but there's the poke through block. Cinnamond says no, closing the gap, and here come Spice right back in the other direction. I must apologize, it was Dela Cruz who got the score on the last point. It was Beamish picking it up there. Just misread a 6 as an 8, and that one just too high over the head of Beamish. So Catchup Graz get to hold on.
Yeah,
bearing in mind this is their first offensive point.
Yeah, some decent pressure there in the handler area on the reset, and just a bit of an overthrow. The player was free, but again, just getting used to these conditions, slight overthrow.
So Brechko picks it up and immediately sends it across in a lateral pass. There's the undercut. Can you get the lead? A lovely air bounce to Brechko. And a little bit of keeping up. She can't hold on to possession.
No.
That thing was like a slippery eel.
So good to give herself that chance, but would have been just taking it too far to do it twice by kicking it up. But
so now Trevino, and it's another turnover right back. Here come Graz. Big throw. Nobody in the area. Now that's how you get them back after return. Fantastic presence of mind. Somebody needs to come up in support. It arrives. 27 after the leading pass. Now spreading it out a little bit wider. Job still in front of the end zone. Looks for the quick pop in, and there it's finished with a fantastic grab. I don't know how she held on to that. I'd say take a bow. How about have a lie down? 2-1.
Yeah. A couple of talking points at that point.
Couple of talking points, John.
Showing one way to keep the disc alive. Use your foot, kick it up. Somehow fumble it again, probably laughing at what she had managed to do the first time, and then drop it again. But yeah, that's a fun point. And again, bit of back and forth, couple of errand throws, couple of errand kicks. But yeah, Catchup getting the job done, 2-1. But again, we're starting to see these teams starting to show what they can do now. And yeah, this looks like it's going to be a good game for the rest of this one. Spice now with the opportunity to play the downwind. So yeah, Catchup players just coming off the sideline, having a good laugh about that last point now. So, and there you can see the layout grab, great grab.
So Nina Pansy playing an incredibly influential role on that point. The quick turnover huck, and then following it up in support. So Catchup Graz really playing for each other. As Gibson on Spice, who have been lightly singed, shall we say, in these opening exchanges. There's that quick give-go play that Gibsons are so famous for, combining. That's Kate and Heather. Heather, number 12. Makes the move further down the line. Wants to set up, looking into the end zone. And a nice dump reset back into the middle. That's great presence of mind. Kate Gibson, the connection, impressive. Leads Kwok. Gets it back to Gibson. Kate. And trying to squeeze the break in doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, unfortunately not able to hold onto that one, but some good signs for the Spice offense that they're working it down like that. Those drops, they're just part of the game, but hopefully they won't have too many more of them for their sake.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a big part of your game. Ortner with the disc. Swing around. Nicely taken by Dorr. And back into the middle. Leading pass to this near sideline, collected by Podstatsky. And another beautiful leading pass, just feeding it into space, letting their cutters run onto it. Really great disc skills on display, and nice presence of mind. That was not an easy catch for Dorr to hold on to. Oh, sorry, I think that was Brumek actually who made that catch. Now waiting. Another big leading pass, and it just goes over the outstretched hands of Kwok, settling gently into the breadbasket of Kansmeier. Now Kansmeier needs to get the dump off herself, able to do so very nicely. Into Brumek. Brumek back into the middle. That was Kansmeier once more. The swing, dump, swing, score. Fundamentals.
Yeah, Catchup going to be very happy with that one to get that break. I'm not sure if their first point was a break, but that's a slight upwind as well. As we know here in Vienna around this time, we expect the wind to start picking up in the next hour or two. So if it's going to start picking up now, that break there, essentially upwind's going to be worth a lot. I think timeout, Catchup, I believe they called it timeout there. So I think
we will return after this break to see the corrections Spice have made. I'm certainly curious. I hope you are too.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable. And traded the net and made good.
That was absolutely incredible.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Here we go.
This year, London Invite is bigger than ever, with 8 teams in the Open Division, 8 teams in the Women's Division, and for the first time, a full 8-team Mixed Division.
With 5 World Games teams, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, France.
As well as the Tokai Super Team, is sure to be the ultimate showcase of the best in the world.
More teams, more streams, more stars, more Ultimate.
More excitement.
You're not going to want to miss London Invite 2025.
Welcome back, everybody. This is exactly what you want from a semi-final of Vienna Spring Break. 2 teams just going at it. We have seen a lot of the quick give-go play from Spice trying to run that dominator set, but Catchup Graz with presence of mind and just textbook fundamentals. I love a good dump, swing, score outside the end zone. It's probably my second favorite play after the scuba in any context. Just shows teams who have the presence of mind to endure pressure, and that is what Catchup Graz have been doing very effectively, John.
Yeah, they're looking very confident on the disc with their throws. Couple of drops by the Spice offense, kind of maybe some gifts giving Catchup those chances. But I think Spice they're gonna know now that they can't afford to have too many more of those drops, because the Catchup team's looking pretty good. And even when they're making slight errors, they're sometimes bailing themselves out, or they're making other plays to hold on to it. So Spice, hopefully if they can up their game a little bit. We already have a pretty competitive game. I think we could get one that could go right down to the wire.
Well, they're certainly going to try and take it. They need to get the score here. You don't want to let the team slip into 3 points ahead. And bear in mind, they did start the game on offense. Catchup Graz opening it up with a break. So Spice need to familiarize themselves and start turning up the heat. Symington can't get it to Gibson down the line. A second move made by Moore. Lovely flick break. Symington played on the GB 2024 women's team last year in Australia. And that's another fantastic dish to Gibson. You can see they're trying to run a dominator set, just a 3-person handler weave, while the cutters are all fairly deep. Now, as they get into the second half of the pitch, that becomes much more difficult to run. Gibson coming out to help. And then across that is number 12, Heather Gibson, who's running in the dominator initially. Nicey Kate Gibson, 51, coming out to assist alongside Symington. That was a beautiful flick break. A split second either direction, and it's turned around. There's the stop and go. Big shout outs to the Catchup Graz defenders. They're working so hard, and in the end, it was a lot of small windows, and the sisters could not connect. I got to give a lot of praise to Johanna Dorr for just non-stop pressure on one of the best handlers going right now on the GB side in Gibson. Yeah,
for Spice there, it was really good work to get it up. It's going to be tough to keep that up for the rest of the game, but promising start there that they know their handlers can hold on to the disc.
Youngworth, brilliant leading pass, pressure under it, but it's met well by Dorr, who looks to shoot, continuing all the way along. Massive play! And that is sensational from Nina Panzi.
Yeah, I really thought there for a second that the receiver, the thrower had overthrown it. It was drifting away from her. She had to use every inch of her body there to make that grab. And fantastic grab. That maybe it could have been made a bit easier for her, but you know she's not going to be complaining when she gets a chance to show she can make plays like that. And I think it was just the 2v1 deep as well. When the defender goes up there, the best thing you can do is try and make it a bit harder on the thrower. So we've got to give a small bit of credit to the defense that they at least forced the player to make a slightly more difficult throw. It didn't seem like it was going to be difficult, but you know, defender put enough pressure on there, and there was some coming back. But again, nice quick throw, and heroic grab.
I appreciate Dora giving us the translation of what she just shouted across the sideline. Hey, look, you're making your teammates look good. That's a moment to remember for Pansy. It's a moment to remember for us in the booth as well. 4-1.
Yeah,
goes up. And again, Herculean defense. To be clear, that was Sophie Dorr who threw the pass. That was Johanna Dorr I was praising for the defense on Gibson.
Yeah, and a really crucial point here for Spice. It's not a very strong win, but they are playing a slight downwind here, and they're not going to get broken again if they want to keep this game close. Otherwise, I think this game could get really out of hand, because I haven't seen anything from Catchup that would suggest they're going to start throwing away the disc.
Kay Gibson under a lot of pressure. Nice step off help defense. As you can see, coming back, Lim working well, and they pulled the defender out of the way, so now they can really set off to the races. De La Cruz gets it right back in the middle, and you can see how many of these Spice players just love playing that ladder offense all the way down the pitch. Fantastic stuff finished by Trevino.
Yeah, really nice play there. Once they got through, they just kept it moving. In the last point, they showed that they can work it with the handlers in a dominator type of space and use lots of small inside break throws and sharp movements. That time it was just a case of hot potato, keep it moving as fast as you can. And I thought at one stage they might have lost a bit of the momentum, but they just kept it going, and really nice score. And like I said, that was a very important point for Spice to get that one to keep themselves in this game. And now they get a chance to try and go on some defense and get an upwind break. Catchup playing the downwind, haven't looked like they've been caused too much trouble so far. So we're going to see if they can keep up their same offense, or if maybe Spice are going to come out with a different look. I think in general, Spice, they've looked to do a little bit of poachy teamwork style defense on the stacks a bit much. So I think we're going to see a lot of points from Catchup, where the initiation plays is going to come probably from one or two handlers before the cutters kind of draw the poaches out, and then after a first pass or two, we'll probably see the Catchup offense able to start playing properly, because I've noticed the Spice tend to have someone poaching the open side of the stack to generally stop those front cuts. So let's see how it goes in this one.
Exactly. Spice are going to need to mix things up just a little bit, because right now it is sound fundamentals on the Catchup Graz side. Nice reset right back into the middle. And the continuation along. Yeah, it's sound fundamentals matched by some athletic grabs. The receivers sparing some blushes for their attackers. Breczko, the captain, gets it back into the middle. Justice was able to get it across the bright visor.
Yeah, there's just a pick downfield.
Or bright visor, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, stack seems to be set up pretty deep. I'm not sure if they're looking to do their own type of dominator here, or maybe they're aware of the poaches coming from the Spice defense.
Let's see how they react. The captain goes straight back. Breczko, swing across, caught under pressure, looking to send a huck. Needed a bit more turn, was always moving away from Sophie Dorr.
Yeah, another thrower giving their receiver a chance to make themselves a hero, but I think that one was just maybe one step too far into the corner. Spice with a chance on the break here now.
So Beamish looking to get things going, and that is nicely caught by Trevino. Trevino picked up the previous score following some ladder offense. Excellently run with De La Cruz. And then sitting in and launching, they've gone the short game. Do they have the long? Underneath, well taken down. Excellent read and better catch from Cinnamond outside the end zone. Everybody filters through. The intensity ratchets up. The score does as well. Fantastic quick pop pass. Moore with the assist. Spice with the break. 4-3.
Yeah, now we have a game. Spice getting that upwind. A really nice throw. Defender initially I actually thought read it pretty well, but got herself to open side of the disc, and then with the outset in on the disc, it actually brought it back in. Good grab and read by the offensive player to catch that, and then Spice getting that break. And like I said, I thought the early part of this game would be key for Spice. If they can keep it close, I think we're going to see more improvement out of them compared to Catchup as the game goes on, as this is going to be Spice's toughest game. And just the baptism of fire. It's maybe not baptism of fire here, but playing against
it's more like a communion of fire.
Communion.
They're a little bit older.
Yeah, a little bit more used to it, and
maybe a confirmation of fire.
Yeah. So we'll see now if they can keep this improvement up.
And what I really loved about that particular point was that Spice were able to show they can do it both ways. Previously, we saw the ladder offense employed to great effect. That time it was a big-time shot, well chased by Cinnamon. Took a lot of pressure. I mean, that was not an easy catch from Cinnamon, even though they were able to almost clap catch it. It's about body position, and that's smart cutting. So here come Catchup Graz in the lead. Let's see what they can do. And are they able to hold on to it? Nice grab. There's the shot looking for the end zone. And that's just about as smooth as it gets. Incredible scene. Zella Sahar getting the goal.
Yeah, I think a bit of fortune there for Catchup. I think there was two of those throws where if the defender had heard an upshout, they would have been able to get a block. The first one was on the dump pass here to this near sideline, and then as much as it looked nice in the end, I think it was a bit of an underthrow on this hook. I think the defender was in a really good position, and maybe the offensive player was able to stop for a second and then run onto it again, but I just think if the defender heard the upshout there, that would have been a much-needed turnover. But, again, Catchup making sure that when they get the chances, they're able to get their hands on those discs and they're making the plays.
That's it, exactly. The way they are playing for each other. We've seen the structure is sound. Every now and again, the throws try to fall a little bit short or threaten to fall a little bit short or go errant, and they are preserved by some fantastic effort on the receiver's side. We've seen 2 layout scores for Catchup Graz so far. We've also seen several layouts to save possession. Very impressive stuff, but you can see Spice able to turn up the heat on the Austrians. Let's see if they can maintain some composure and keep it cool on the offensive side, because Catchup Graz, they like a vocal sideline. I got to admit, I don't mind one myself, as Kate Gibson with the disc against the Catchup Graz zone, it seems, John.
Yeah, very aggressive zone here. 5 players really near the disc and 2 players deep. So I think Spice have shown that they've got all the throws, so I don't think they're going to struggle too much. Only maybe a throw error is going to lead to a turn here. I think they're going to be patient and not panic, but
lovely leading pass. Gibson to Gibson. And then sent her back into the middle, just a little dish You know they like that dominator between each other. Good work to close the gap on the defensive side against that zone.
Just an unfortunate drop there.
Just forcing those kind of throws. You say unfortunately, yeah, obviously they didn't intend to drop like that, but I think part of it is this zone forcing those kind of rushed throws out of the Spice hands and into the ground as it turns out. We see once more Brechko picking up the disc. Wants the huck. Great cover on the defensive side to shut that down. I think it was Caitlin Simon. Does he have another look at Pansy? Gets it back into Brechko. Pansy continues to move across. Now Brechko launches. It's high. It's arcing. It might just come back in. Everybody's given up. You should at least touch it. Goodness gracious me.
I think we're not sure if she's in, but she was the only one willing to chase that, and I think she might have. It's definitely very close. I think
it looks like they've accepted it. That is absolutely incredible, towing the line.
Exactly. We've been asked there from the sideline, do we have an opinion? And we think that was a great tow of the line.
Yeah,
there.
our opinion is damn.
Yeah,
God,
and we got to give her a lot of credit because there was another receiver. I'm not sure if it was her who actually stopped and kept running again. We can see there, yeah. To me, it looks in on the replay on the first glance. I only caught the end of that replay, so I think the fact that they didn't come to us on the camera, I would say it was in. But you can see the hook went up and nobody initially chased for it. I think they thought it wasn't coming back in, and then they followed up again. So we'll get a good look at it here on the replay and see if it was in. And I know when I'm at home I can pause, but let's see what happens here. Oh, it's close. I don't know if she got that left foot up as she caught it.
Technically that was out of bounds. But look, you play to what you can see.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of the sport.
What I'm seeing there is both feet were on. It's just whether she could get her left foot up.
Bulger, that's it. Like, the right foot was definitely down and in bounds. The left foot stepped on the line briefly, but if she was able to raise it back up as she caught it, that's definitely a catch.
Yeah, I'm sure the viewers at home can let us know in the comments whether when they pause that if her foot was up or down. But you know what? They didn't come to us for the replay. They were happy to accept it, and potentially she got that foot up. Be very good awareness if she was able to get that foot up rather than just dragging the toes. But back here onto this play now.
So Gibson playing in the dominator again. The two Gibsons, I should say, that's plural. And a nice pass to the far sideline. Symington, who has been involved in the Gibson dominator. It's been a lot of Symington. The two Gibsons. De La Cruz, of course, picked up a goal earlier on and was instrumental in one of the earlier scores for Spice, working the ladder very effectively with Trevino. As you see Symington with the uprushing play. So Spice going back to that short space, quick fire offense against the catch-up grass zone. Nice leading pass, jumping through the jaws and throwing it down the throat for the goal. Very nice stuff from Spice.
Yeah, no debate about that one being a goal. Yeah, really good play. Nice, works it down through the middle. And again, a good response on the last one. So last time I believe they were playing this way, Spice were able to get the upwind. So let's see if they can get another one here now.
As we look at the final pass back in. So very nicely done by Spice.
Yeah, the weather starting to go a bit sour now. A lot more rain. Expect to maybe see a bit more zone, a couple more risky looking throws that won't actually look, maybe at home they won't look as risky, but the conditions here now are going to make throwing very difficult. So expect it to be a much short game.
Yesterday there would be no rain until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Liars!
That's that Vienna wind. It picks up. You don't know when it's going to pick up, and then suddenly you're playing in a hurricane and rain. So I imagine
my first trip to Vienna. I had no idea it was like that.
Yeah, I've been here. This is my third time here. First time non-playing, and it's been kind of like that each time. And the wind tends to pick up in the midday.
Let's see how prepared Catchup Graz are, the Austrians, but from the opposite side of the country, if my limited geography is to be trusted. You can hear Spice calling, and that zone forcing the wider throw as it ends into the ground. Moore wasting no time picking it up. They're looking to get right back to the action, playing with Beamish. Now Moore sits into the power position, doesn't want to force that, trying to get it back to Beamish. Looks, excellent defensive pressure, but a lovely textbook dump defense, or dump reset from Symington to come back and collect. As you can see, Spice starting to load up lines and try and close this gap. Really great throw to find Symington, and they're moving around more on the far side. Outstretched, low grab, and collected for the goal. There's a bit of conversation about whether or not that was in or out.
A lot of hand signals going on. I'm seeing her signaling goals and in, out, and YMCA, everything being hand signaled here. It looks like they're going to agree that it's not in the end zone. So let's see what happens when they resume here. They do have a player free in the end zone, but decides not to look at it.
You don't want to force that straight away. Oh, that's a fantastic grab. I think Moore reached backwards in time to hold on to that one. Gets it back to Beamish. Beamish looks to swing. There's those fundamental end zone offense I'm such a big fan of. And it results in the score. Symington with the assist.
Yeah, nice little lefty inside backhand. I thought she under-threw it a bit. But yeah, now we've got a real game back on here as Spice bring back in. And as I thought at the start, the competition these teams faced yesterday was going to mean one team was going to have a better start. But I think we're obviously, when they get a break, it's easy to say the momentum with Spice is with Spice. But based on the last one or two scores, they've looked more comfortable. Not entirely sure if that last catch-up goal should have stood. But again, I would say it's catch-up's finding it tougher now, and Spice looking like they might be the team that want to go on and take this more. So good couple of key points here before we go into half, and hopefully they can both keep this up till the end of the game. And now let's see, it's Catchup or maybe the ones that need to respond a bit. They probably feel like it's going good, but I think people watching from the sideline here will agree that the momentum seems to have shifted a little bit in favour of Spice after that strong Catchup start.
Catchup do remain in the lead, but I understand what you're saying. The energy seems to be rising with the Londoners. Let's see how the Austrians respond. This is everything you could want from a semi-final. Nice little hop back into the middle for Catchup. Podstatsky sends it out to the far sideline and gets it back again. Sweeping across, and that one touching dirt a lot sooner than they were hoping for. Moosehammer just has to shake the hand. Gibson picks it up quickly. Looking for the continuation. Nicely shut down. Now needs to get a dump off. Got to think stall about 6. Great recovery cut, but just getting a bit too ahead of themselves. Wilkinson throwing that one.
Exactly, just a bit too eager to get it going. But again, I'm not entirely sure what the catch-up offense was on the last point. They seem to be doing their own type of dominator, but not sure that's the type of play that was looking like it was working for them at the start. So it does seem like a 4-person.
They're trying to work out against this zone how to best move their way around it. For now, they're just content to move their way in front of it. Podstatsky operating some nice dump swing, but there's the poach into the lane. Fantastic defense from Robinson to shut down those options. Brilliant throw, though, in response. Catchup Graz absorbing the pressure and holding on to possession. That is some top quality stuff. Over the top and rescued again. The layouts from this Catchup Graz side, they refuse to let the disc die. It comes back across to Kansmeyer. Kansmeyer sends it down the line, and fantastic work. Again, a huge effort from Sahar to save possession. Had a layout earlier on in the game as well. That one goes back to Kansmeyer. Kansmeyer swings it across into the waiting hands of Brumek. Brumek, who's been central to this offense throughout this point. Now Sahar again, big over the top to Podstatsky. Podstatsky takes a breath, which I appreciate as things have been getting very hectic, and overthrowing on the dump pass to Sahar.
Puts it straight away.
A huge shot going all the way back down to the other side. Robinson collects. Very nicely done. Joanna Robinson was playing huge defense throughout that point. Now leads Gibson. There's the quick sweep up, and that's the ladder offense they love to run. Cinnamon, Gibson, and a fantastic grab by Robinson. That ties it up at 6-6.
So happy that player decided not to do what everyone else does and call a timeout in that position when she's isolated. She lets her teammates follow up the play, and I was going to say whoever scored that point, Catch would probably need to take a timeout, because if it wasn't clear before this point, the momentum is all with Spice now, and they could go on a real run here, and I'm not sure if Catchup can keep up with them, so they're going to need to change something.
What's in a name as things heat up? Can the Austrians keep pace? Only one way to find out, and that's right here with ULTI.TV. So join us after the break.
Oh my goodness.
always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Welcome back. I had a moment to catch my breath because if I didn't, there was danger of asphyxiation. By which I mean I'm damn near suffocating myself and I don't have to play against these two defenses. Catchup, Graz and Spice are having a fight for the ages here in the early stages of the European Championship season as well as the late stages of Vienna Spring Break. We have seen Catchup, Graz storm out to a lead early on, but Spice definitely able to seize that momentum back, and they're on a 2-point run right now. 6-6 the score, half-time within touching distance. Who is going to take that advantage? It's fed to Brechko, one of the leaders of this Catchup Graz side. Down the line to Pansy, who has been incredible so far in this game, including maybe the score of the tournament with a layout earlier on. Brechko on the near side. Looks to get the swing back into the middle. Does so effectively to Youngworth. Youngworth down the line to Pansy. Pansy says no to the leading pass. Youngworth makes a move up the line. Again, shot down. The intensity ratchets it up as the sidelines get louder. It finds its way to Justice. Justice gets a little bit of a touch, but that's not enough to stop Pansy getting the disc. I mean, you need to stop it dead if you want that woman to not pick it up. Brilliant leading pass to Brechko. Brechko outside the sideline. This is to hold on to the lead. And bear in mind, Spice did start the game on offense. There's the outside in. Will it come back in for Pansy? De La Cruz tries to block it. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I think there's a better chance that was a goal than the last one in terms of her feet are on the line right now.
We'll have a look here.
Her feet are on the line. I imagine her momentum kept her going forwards, but if there's some justice, maybe they won't get this one based on them being given the last one, and I think they've agreed it's a turnover.
Honestly, I think that is a little bit of karmic rebalancing. I think the one earlier was out. I think that one was in. So we'll be quiet about that, and we'll just get back to this high-intensity game.
In fairness, we weren't consulted on any of these decisions, so the players doing it how they would have to do it at most tournaments, and they're doing it by themselves, making the best judgments they can at the time. And now Spice have a chance to get the break here.
That was a difficult catch under an awful lot of pressure. Looked like Heather Gibson able to toe the line and bring it in. As they have just a little bit of discussion. That's a matchup between leaders as well. Heather Gibson being marked by Sophie Brechko, although Catchup Graz started this point on offense, so it might be the other way around.
I think they're trying to discuss if this was a force out.
My instinct would be yes, that's a force out, to be honest with you. I mean, catch is that close to the sideline. And she looked in when she caught it to me, but shows what we know is always speculative. Let's have another look here. So you can see here Gibson coming across. Oh, they've agreed inbound, so we're right back to the action. Trevino sets it up into the middle. Nice leading pass across to Wilkinson. Wilkinson tries to send it on to Trevino, but it just falls short in front of them.
I don't mind it if they're playing quick like this. I think as long as they can keep Catchup trying to play with the same intensity, the turns are going to come, because Catchup just seem to be struggling a little bit more in these conditions.
Youngworth gets it back across to Justice. Brechko. You must say Spice do seem the team more comfortable with the give-go, courtesy of the Gibsons, but not defined exclusively by them. Oh, and Brechko with the incredible leadership grab. That disc was up all day. Agreed by the Spice sideline. We stay attached to the action. Pansy across, receiving it from Justice, sending it down the line and collected by Youngworth. But again, they're just playing it back and forth on this midfield point. Youngworth, that's not an easy throw. Straight to Pansy. Pansy with the break around. Now it's on the far sideline, collected by Breitwieser. Breitwieser gets it back across to Pansy. Pansy surveys, sets up, looking for the high pass over the top. Very nicely done, recognizing the gap in the defense. Finds Youngworth. That play has continued along. Now Catchup Graz right outside the end zone. They're filtering through. Breitwieser looking, and it's a scoop flick. That's not an easy pass. Just going past the receiver. After all that hard work, Spice have a chance to take the lead and
Yeah,
retake serve.
I think it was the right option to go for that throw there. The player was enough to the open side. It might have looked like an inside break, but it was more of a open side like type throw. It just wasn't able to just get it accurate, and maybe the player just wasn't able to get their hand to the disc. I'm not sure if it was within reach or just out of reach. I think she just might have missed it.
I think it was in reach, but the problem with inside flick breaks in that short space is in order to get past the mark, you got to put so much snap on it. They're incredibly difficult to catch.
Yeah, I think it had to be one of those where you reach out and catch it with one hand, and that's never an easy catch in normal conditions, never mind these conditions.
Par example, as Pansy quickly picks it up and they go right back at them. Youngworth, back to Pansy. Pansy, who has those backhand swings and doesn't mind hitting the break side when it's available. But that time, the only thing available was the swat on the defensive side. Very nicely done by Kate Gibson. And Trevino collects it. Huge bid coming up empty. So now Trevino with the disc pops it back into Gibson. Gibson wants to put the leading pass. De La Cruz, no defender in the area, takes her time. She had an awful lot of it. Now back to Trevino. Trevino in the middle of the pitch. Waits for the uprushing hander. Comes in the form of Symington. Symington fakes the hammer. Throw that hammer. Have a bit of fun with it. Trevino looks to lead Symington again. Defense in the area. Just enough to dissuade. I believe that was dropped. Excellent play. You could see the defender pull out rather than attack in, but their presence was enough to dissuade the catch. That is textbook, by the rules, defending. So now you can almost see the fatigue setting in a little bit. The intensity is really high right now for all of these teams. Breitwieser gets it down the line. That's into Buldur. Buldur, who had that fantastic grab earlier on. Back to Breitwieser. Breitwieser trying to get to Brechko, does so. Brechko rips it, looking for Pansy. But even the superhuman Pansy can't take flight for that one.
Speaking
a bit
of
too far ahead.
Speaking of the fatigue, I think you mentioned it yesterday, how sometimes you can get in the commentary booth. It's like every few seconds here, we're just getting a little adrenaline boost. This game has been one of the best games I've seen on the stream so far this tournament, and let's hope these teams can keep it up. And
we'll find out after the break, as mercifully a timeout is called. That one by Kate Gibson. The score 6-6. The opportunity available for everybody, and the future tantalizing.
Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn about our cutting edge strategies and to see analysis of world class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
I'm Steph Pazzo, and I must eat.
Sometimes commentator, sometimes food eater.
On my ultimate travels in 2023, I sampled culinary classics from all across Europe.
Oh, wow.
Guided by some of your favorite ultimate players.
That's the Dutch hospitality for you right there.
I'll give you an insight into the secret spots that only the locals know of.
Are these the best schnitzels in Vienna?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
You'll find Steph Pazzo on YouTube. Like and subscribe and follow the European Ultimate Must Eat series.
Here we go.
This year, London Invite is bigger than ever, with 8 teams in the Open Division, 8 teams in the Women's Division, and for the first time, a full 8-team Mixed Division.
With 5 World Games teams, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, France.
As well as the Tokai Super Team, is sure to be the ultimate showcase of the best in the world.
More teams, more streams, more stars, more ultimate.
More excitement.
You're not going to want to miss London Invite 2025.
Top quality action coming to you all season long, courtesy of ULTI.TV on YouTube. Wild, live, and free for everyone. Please do consider giving your support if you are able to. If not, please just enjoy the games, such as we've got London Invite coming later this season, which promises to be high octane, high action. And right now, if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're getting, is Catchup, Graz, and Spice locking horns in a real battle in the semi-finals here, Vienna Spring Break.
yeah, the Catchup team came out stronger, but Spice have come back into it. I think maybe the weather is factoring into a bit. Maybe the Spice team has a bit more experience in their handler area and difficult conditions to play in. And Let's see if
That is interesting. I would say catch-up grabs probably have the slight edge in their ability to catch, as we've seen some fantastic layout grabs. Whereas I would agree, Spice seem to have the slight edge in the give-go side of the offense. Both teams about even on their ability to send leading passes and hooks. What a match. As they're trying to fight their way through. That's a great leading pass, but just a little bit too far ahead, stumbling. There's only so much you can give. And I guarantee you Catherine Stallin's going to give every bit of herself.
And the wind is really picking up here now. It seems like Catchup are actually playing into the wind now. First time this weekend where the wind has been blowing in this direction.
So Brechko able to get the dump back into the middle, and now it is across the door. That's Johanna Dor. Looks to center. Fantastic grab. Well taken down by Breitwieser. Back to Brechko in the middle. Brechko sits, sends it over Pansy, takes a little bit of a touch. It's swept up on the other side, nicely cleaned up by Justice. Looks to center it into the middle. Pansy gets it across. Excellent grab. Breitwieser has clamps for hands as she's somehow holding onto these discs. Back to Brechko just outside the end zone. Trevino putting on a big force. Doesn't want to let them get that break off, but they do. Back to Pansy in the middle. Pansy to Brechko. Pansy clears up the line, steps back. So Brechko still staring at an end zone with nobody able to get free. Forced to look back to the dump and Pansy. Tries to go to the break side, but excellent work by the marks to not let those flick breaks off. Now you see Brechko hopes to get the continuation. Does so. But still no availability right outside. Big break attempt over the top, and it is swept up by Gibson. Fantastic scenes. Trevino able to assist, and there's the leading pass. Gibson gets the interception and takes off down the field. You can see the gritted teeth as that disc just sailed slightly ahead of her.
Yeah, really great job there on that last block to get the interception. I think she read the offensive player's mind and then took off deep after. Just unfortunate she wasn't able to get onto the end of it.
And Brechko just about escaping the clutches of the help defense in the open channel with that leading pass as it goes back to Justice. Justice across to Brechko. Brechko thinks about the hook, but not for very long as she sends it looking to the end zone. Slight misread would need correction, but Boldur not able to save that one this time.
Yeah, just with the misread, she just wasn't able to get it. I think if she read it a bit better, then might have actually ended up being a somewhat easier grab than it would have looked, even though it was going kind of over her head. But again, upwind shot. Just in these conditions, everything is just tough. There has been a timeout in this point as well, so this has been a slightly longer point, and even though they got a bit of a break in the middle, these players have been on the field for a while now, and this is a really crucial point. I feel like if Spice get this, it just really, the momentum has completely shifted, but Catchup have slowed down that momentum that Spice seemed to have taken a while ago, and now it's back into a bit more of an even game again, I would say.
Gibson. Good work by Pansy on the force to stop that backhand hook. Gibson to Gibson in the middle. Kate to Heather. Heather sends it across. Trevino back into the center. Symington. Gibson. Stalin not able to get free. Catchup grabs, pumping legs to stay shoulder to shoulder with their offenders. It's taking some fantastic throws to find Trevino free. Trevino into Symington, and that one almost stolen away. These are very small gaps that the Spice handlers are fitting the disc into. Gibson, quick step back. Brilliant shutdown defense on the first two moves, but Breitwieser lost on the third. Now Gibson sends it down the line. Symington able to get it. These things are getting close. You can tell the fatigue. There's the leading pass. Gibson somehow gets completely free right outside the end zone. Pansy comes to pick up the mark. Gibson, De La Cruz makes a move. De La Cruz can't get free. The stall count has got to be getting high. Trevino gets the pop. There was a pick called, I believe. That would explain how Trevino was able to get so free on the front corner. Catchup Graz doing a fantastic job of collapsing and stopping the options for Gibson following the leading pass.
Yeah, and
you could tell how tired everybody is, hands on knees.
Yeah, the wind has really picked up now. I almost think it almost doesn't even matter if Spice score here. I think it's going to take an incredible effort from Catchup if they get the disc here to get the disc up into the other end zone. It's windy, it's rainy, everything is going against them. It feels like Spice are going to be the ones that get this.
Gibson, big hammer over the top. Did anybody see that coming? Yeah, apparently Brechko did.
She must have heard me say that it doesn't really matter if they score here because Catchup are going to have to basically score one of the most impressive points this weekend if they're going to score this upwind.
Well, they've scored some of the most impressive points this weekend already in this game, so I wouldn't put it past them. Wind in the getting involved, so does De La Cruz getting the block. Now Gibson, slightly easier pass this time outside the end zone, just going for the pop. Kate Gibson with the disc, looking at options. It's a tight space in front, and Trevino being asked quite a lot to get that disc, not able to. So we'll start off as a very high-intensity, high-skill game. The wind is starting to have a bit of a say in.
This is probably the most difficult conditions a team has had to play into this weekend if they want to score an upwind. Even pointing deep to send a hook. I think this is not a bad option. Throw it deep. Maybe you can get one nice grab.
Oh, Pansy holds on to it on the second bid. Fantastic effort. Huge hook from Brejko, just out of coffin corner. But there again, how many times have we seen those channel blocking Gibson defensive efforts just getting in the way and stopping problems before they have a chance to get any worse.
Yeah, just not the throw you want to go for there. I think they did so much of the hard work to get the disc into the other team's half, and that was a fantastic hook to get it into our receiver's hands, and then just looks to throw cross field. I almost think if you're going to throw a tight one like that, just shooting a 50-50 to the end zone here might have just been a better option. You have to be so sure when you're going to risk a turnover that at least the reward is high, and I don't think there was much reward for that, but again, high-level defense just coming in and not giving up. So maybe I'm being a bit too critical and not praising the defense enough for him getting in there and making that play.
As we see Bouldier step off with the injury call to be replaced by Lena Ortner. As Lena Ortner might be how they say it in Austria. This point has been 12 minutes long. It is a real backbreaker. You got to think whoever scores this is going to take the victory. An awful lot on the line. Brejko's shown that she can put big hooks up into that space. This time going for the shot to Pansy on the short side. Now trying to find Justice. Justice couldn't get free. Pansy goes to the opposite sideline. The waiting arms of Breitwieser. Oh, and that's an excellent cut and leading pass into Ortner. Coming on and making an impact. Wants to get it to Pansy. Does so. Then picks back up her hat. Pansy, and one more time. Stop throwing it at Heather Gibson. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to do given she's everywhere, but gives the disc right back, trying to lead Trevino, couldn't quite.
Yeah, I think when we're getting the turns in this timeout call by Catchup, but I think what you really want to avoid if you're Spice here is giving any short field turnovers where the other team can reach the end zone within one hook. So we're going to see what they do.
And we'll have to see what they do. Let's have a quick look back at what they've been doing so far in this game. The score is 6-6 as these two teams are matched up. It's been really intense. This is the second timeout that we've had called in this 1 point. Our scorekeeper is telling us we've already reached about 15 minutes of the game and of this point even. And throughout this point, throughout this game, there's been some electric plays. As we have a look at some of them, this is going to be Brejko with that huge rip to the running Pansy. Pansy has been so impressive throughout this game. The bobble catch, able to rescue it, but neither side has been able to get that fateful final foot into the end zone. Yeah. Gibson is a terror in the open channels.
Yeah, she's the only, I think it's the only reason Catchup haven't scored this point, and I feel like if Catchup scored this one, it switches the momentum hugely back in their favor, because I do believe, again, the wind has died down a little bit now, so maybe they have an easier time scoring this one, but the fact that Spice haven't been able to score this downwind when the wind was so strong a while ago, when I thought there was almost no way Catchup are going to be able to score now. Catchup managed to last long enough, and now they're in a position where I believe they can reach the end zone in at least one throw here.
Brejko certainly can.
And I believe that's who's going to be coming in with the disc after the timeout as well. So I would imagine Spice are going to come out with somewhat intelligent defense to just say, hey, let's not leave the main thrower on the other team's line, just throw it straight to our end zone. So we're going to see how they set up, but I imagine that's going to be the main focus if you're Spice here is, hey, let's put a little bit of pressure around the disc, but let's just make sure there's no hooks going straight away, because even a 50-50 in this, the risk reward in these conditions is really high, and it would just change the momentum a lot. I think Spice had them, Catchup had the momentum, then it shifted to Spice, and I think this one here, if Spice scored, I'm not sure who the momentum's with, but if Catchup scored this, I feel they've got the momentum again.
So you can see standard 2-5 setup. I'll be curious to see how Spice decide to play against it. Based on Trevino's positioning, it looks like it's going to be a backhand force, so that does mean Brejko has the ability to, certainly from what I've seen, hit basically anywhere on the pitch in front of her. Stall in. Gibson on the mark, which means she isn't in the open channel. And maybe just a little bit cold coming out after that timeout. There's the immediate turnover, so now Gibson picking it up. Kate against Pansy. You'll hear the calls as they're trying to get free, eventually able to find Symington in the middle. Going with a bit of a 2-5, Trevino tearing down. And now they look downfield, waiting for options. Symington tries to come available, but just overthrown ever so slightly. Excellent interception by Justice. In these conditions, you never know where a disc is going to go. You've got to take him down. Breitwieser sets the big flick, looking all the way down the field, hoping to find Ortner. Ortner just outside the end zone. Nobody arrives immediately. Instead, forced to go back. That's Dorr. Johanna Dorr, back to Brechko. Brechko decides not to force the break. There is a bit of contact, so that's going to cause a stoppage.
Yeah, really nice throw to get them into this position. The wind's picked up a bit again. I'm not even sure which way it's blowing right now, but the conditions are not ideal. It's very hard to know how to adjust your throws because it's just changing so often.
Breitwieser able to get the break. There was two Catchup Graz players on that side. Dorr with the disc. Goes back to Brechko. Brechko can't get the continuation, and the defense is able to settle down a little bit. Spice switching when necessary. There's the leading pass. It's right outside the end zone. They are in the business end of the game at this point. It has to be said, we're reaching 20 minutes at this point. Just outside the end zone. Brechko doesn't want to force anything. Blade over the top. That's ambitious. It's brave and it's rewarded. Fantastic stuff. The crucial point goes the way of Catchup Graz, courtesy of a fantastic grab by Flora Jobstel.
Yeah, and like I said, I think if Catchup were able to score that one, the momentum is massively back in their favour, where if Spice had scored it, I don't think it would make too much. But I would think Spice might, I'm not sure if there is even more timeouts, but I think Spice are really going to need to regroup now to come out, because that one is from the sideline. I know if I'm in charge of the Spice leadership, I'm feeling like that was a bad one to not score, and we basically gave Catchup a bit of a gift there. We should have scored in that downwind in front of the end zone a while ago, and now we've got to do it. The wind isn't as bad anymore, so maybe it's not so upwind downwind anymore, but I definitely feel that Catchup right now are the team that look like they're going to drive on.
And just to accentuate the challenges ahead of Spice, that does trigger a timed half time, which means you got to swap sides and swap possession. So we were watching a Galaxy point without even realizing it. Catchup Graz able to carry that through. That is a big point, a big moment. We will see how Spice respond in the second half after the break.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable. And traded the net and made for it.
That was absolutely incredible.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn about our cutting edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
I'm Steph Pazzo, and I must eat.
Sometimes commentator, sometimes food eater.
On my Ultimate travels in 2023, I sampled culinary classics from all across Europe,
Oh, wow.
guided by some of your favorite Ultimate players.
That's the Dutch hospitality for you right there.
I'll give you an insight into the secret spots that only the locals know of.
Are these the best schnitzels in Vienna?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
You'll find Steph Pazzo on YouTube. Like and subscribe and follow the European Ultimate Must-Eat series.
Here we go.
This year, London Invite is bigger than ever, with 8 teams in the Open Division, 8 teams in the Women's Division, and for the first time, a full 8-team Mixed Division.
With 5 World Games teams, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, France.
As well as the Tokai Super Team, it's sure to be the ultimate showcase of the best in the world.
More teams, more streams, more stars, more ultimate.
More excitement.
You're not going to want to miss London Invite 2025.
Welcome back, everybody, to the action as we're enjoying the semi-final here in Vienna Spring Break. On the far sideline, 3SB are engaged in a battle with Zurich. I believe Zurich Swarm might be the name of that squad.
I believe so.
As far as we can tell, 3SB are in a commanding lead, whereas right here we are watching Spice have a battle of the ages with Catchup Graz. It has been highly entertaining, highly stressful, I imagine, for the fans back home. 7-6 Catchup Graz were able to take the crucial Galaxy point. We weren't aware it was Galaxy point at the time. Galaxy point score for the timed half at 7-6. That means they come out with the disc, receiving the disc, going pseudo downwind, would you say, John?
Yeah, I think in this point we've got Spice. They have to play slightly upwind. It's the first time I've ever been at Vienna where the wind is going this way. Normally it goes from the other way around. So I would say here, Catchup have the momentum. I thought at the start of the game Catchup were going to come out stronger because of their tougher previous games. Then Spice adjusted. I thought, oh, this is a good sign for Spice. They're probably going to go on a bit of a run here. They did, but they didn't capitalize enough. And now I think that last point was just, like we said, we weren't even aware it was Galaxy Point, and it would switch things around like this, and that was just a huge point. So Spice have had a little chance to talk again, and again, there's some veteran players on both teams, and I imagine Spice with that timeout they're going to have a good talk. So honestly, normally I would try and predict who I think is going to win the game, but I feel this one it's just so hard to
predict. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Catchup Graz are able to hold on.
If I have to predict,
but I think it's going to go Universe.
Yeah, if I had to predict, I would pick Catchup, but I wouldn't be confident on it, and I am someone who would be. As someone say, oh, I'm not a betting man, I would say I am a betting man, but this is one of those where I just probably wouldn't put the bet on.
12:41. It is very much a pick 'em right now. The advantage with Catchup, as they will be receiving the disc. We have 9 minutes left in regulation. You got to imagine we're going to go to a timed finish for this game. Although the conditions are ever so slightly easing up, so not quite as bad as they became for that 6-6 point. That was a 22-minute long point, so effectively a third of the game played so far happened at 6-6 as they are spreading it back and forth. That's Keneally playing in the center alongside Brumek, and then flanked on the far sideline Podstatsky. Getting it down the line into the hands of Kansmeier. Kansmeier. Oh, and it's a missed throw. Nope, I think there's going to be an uncontested foul on the mark. Lim happy to concede.
Getting some quick hand signals from the side, and yes, foul accepted. It would make sense based on the way that disc was misthrown. It would make sense that for an around backhand there, if your hand gets hit by the force, it would push the disc a bit forward. So
I also think when you start to get colder, you can just accidentally hold on to those discs too long. Kansmeier able to get it down the line. Keneally. That one also straight down the line. It's into the hands of Dor. Can Dor finish it off? This is a big moment right here. 7-6. Dor trying to push that lead back out to 2. I think the last time they were up by 2 was at 4-2 in the game. Dor. There's the cut down the line. Kansmeier secures with a layout clap catch, and that is a crucial goal for Catchup Graz. 8-6.
Yeah, like I said, with the conditions there, you could see the Spice pull barely cleared the halfway line. Maybe the wind wasn't so bad for it, and they maybe needed a slightly better pull, but Catchup just able to take advantage. And like I said, I felt they had a bit of the momentum in that point, and especially from the last point. And still not as someone who would put bets on. I still wouldn't bet on it, but I think if Catchup get this one, I would probably then start placing my bets. But Spice are going to need to get things together a small bit more now. They've shown that earlier in the game they were able to do it. They took a run, so they're going to need another one of those now.
It's well within their wheelhouse. We've seen momentum be traded back and forth between point after point, even possession after possession during that fateful 6-6 Galaxy point heading into timed half. Catchup come out, flawless hold.
Yeah, really nice, clean offense. Well, one on the foul, but it was a foul, so you're not going to factor that in. It was a layout grab, so it's not so easy, but, you know, maybe they just decide, hey, we might as well because we've made all those other catches like that so far. So
I think 50% of Catchup Graz's scores in this game have been layouts.
yeah, or
If not
towing
that-
the line.
Towing the line, something like 3 of them anyway, at least, as I can remember.
Yeah, a lot of tight pressure here by the catch-up defense.
Gibson able to get free. That's Heather Gibson. Kate Gibson fed it to her. Oh, and a huge layout block! Absolutely incredible!
It really looked at the start like that. That was amazing, and it looked like Catchup were determined to get a block there on tight match defense. I haven't noticed them that tight for the rest of the game, and you know, when you get one of your players in that position and they can get that block, takes advantage of it. Exactly what I think they were looking for there, and yeah, big point here if they can get this one.
Lena Ortner with the block. Brechko, we know, we've seen her launch some hucks down that sideline into the wind, into a power position, able to shake off the mark ever so slightly. Lovely leading pass, well into the path and the waiting hands of Joanna Dor. Joanna Dor gets it to Pansy. Pansy looking to go back to Brechko, is able to go back. Sophie Brechko with the disc, the captain for Catchup Graz. Has a lethal backhand, got a few flick breaks in her arsenal as well, just like that, but it's a bit low and it's a bit behind, and Spice able to rescue possession back. So now what will they do with it? Gibson running to pick it up.
I'm not sure if I agree with their running to pick it up. I think they maybe would do better to slow it down a bit.
Well, there's the leading pass. It's over a few different heads and winds up down in the dirt.
Yeah, just on the way Catchup came out playing defense in that point, I felt like I feel like Catchup have a bit of a speed advantage in this game, whereas I feel Spice possibly in the smaller, more intricate throws, I feel they have the advantage. And in these conditions, I think the team with the better throws can take an advantage by slowing the game down.
Oh, huge pressure from Gibson, but standing tall and taking it down, Buldure gets it to Pansy again. Huge pressure from Gibson, and Pansy collects this one. Now Pansy just launches it. Wants to see a battle in the end zone. 24 on 24, and they're open all hours. Brilliant catch from Lena Ortner. Gets the block, gets the goal, gets the 3-point lead. 9-6, Catchup Graz.
We can start putting our bets on now, Larkin. I would be very surprised if Spice can come back from this. Not just on the scoreline, but just the momentum, the energy. Everything is in favor of Catchup now. We hear the 5 minutes left shout.
So let's just have a look. Lena Ortner with the huge layout block, like you said, that close, cropped match defense. Fantastic stuff. Catchup Graz definitely have ratcheted up the pressure here in the second half.
Did you get the bookends on that? Was that the last turn?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, she read it really well, got up 2 hands, makes that grab.
So we can have a look here. This was Pansy. So massive grab under pressure, followed by another massive grab under pressure. Both times it was Gibson's putting pressure on. And not to be undone, Sophie Mance was right there looking for the block, but fantastic effort from Ortner to bring that one down. And to make it 9-6. So that just shows you those marathon points. Whoever scores generally wins the game.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I realize this one is not an EUCS ranking game, even though both these teams will be probably in the mix for spots towards the end of the season. But I would say both teams look around that level where they probably both want to show, hey, I can beat a team at this level. Sure, this game doesn't actually matter in the systems, but this is kind of how you find out what level you're at this stage of the season. So just because it's not for ranking doesn't mean it doesn't improve your chances or improve your confidence of maybe making it to EUCF at the end of the season.
I think both teams getting an awful lot out of an exchange like this early in the season. It's the exact reason you come to Vienna Spring Break. And it's the exact kind of thing you get when you do come to Vienna Spring Break. Fantastic scenes, fantastic ultimate. As the Gibsons in the backfield, trying to marshal an offense. Della Cruz gets looked off. The break slightly too hard. And there's the continuation. Now I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit more of that give-go ladder offense that they've been so effective at all game long. That's Marsland back to Gibson. Gibson across to Gibson. Kate to Heather. Gibson, the undercut, screaming down, but marked the whole way. So now the Gibsons forced to reset between each other, take on a difficult break. Nicely around to Symington. Symington been a really important part of that 3-person dominator as well, all match long, with little dishes like that. They are delectable. There's the feed to Trevino!
That's exactly what they're going to need there. And I think a big factor in that one was, you say some of their throws are a bit difficult, but I think what it was is Catchup have just put on the pressure on the open side, and now Spice have been forced to, what I talk about, where I think they have the advantages in terms of their throws and their ability to attack that break side. And I think all those throws, they just came down the break side. Once they got that first break, they were able to keep the flow going. And I think if Again, I said we were going to put our bets up on our bets in on
as soon as you
Catchup
did
on the
that,
last
we're
one.
like,
I still think it, but if there's going to be a reason that it doesn't work out, it's going to be that Spice are going to keep going down that break side with those throws, because again, if you can get that first break side throw and you have some experienced players who can time it, you're going to have players wide open like that. And even when you slightly overthrow them, when they can make plays like that to keep it alive, I think they still have a chance. So 2-point game, but it's still, there's very little time left. But again, Catchup, it's up to them to just keep focused now.
You've been talking a lot about this all tournament long, the 2-break upwind downwind impact, and as the wind has shifted, that was pretty much an upwind as much as there exists an upwind downwind in this game. I think the rain is slightly more of a factor, so there'll be opportunities if you can keep things close and stay on shoulders for players to just drop as discs slip out of hands. Now, there was no disc slipping out of Trevino's hand on that particular one.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, I'm not even. It's hard to really tell. The wind has been chopping and changing. I just stood outside our tent there to see. Doesn't feel too bad, but what you mentioned about the slippy disc and the tight pressure, that might be a bigger factor now. So I think if Spice are going to look to get blocks, tight pressure.
Breshko looks to get it right back. That is a fantastic feed, just removing Symington from the equation. She tried to fill the lane. Breshko sends it around, and Keneally couldn't hold on even with the glove. Now Symington, almost all of her teammates are behind her, and gives the disc right back to Catchup Graz. Just gotta say, fatigue probably played a role in that one as well, as Brechko picks it up. Wants to get the leading pass flick across to Keneally. Keneally makes sure this time.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit of some of the players are just thinking about things, thinking it's a bit too easy, or thinking about the next throw before they catch it. These conditions, you just have to really focus on catching everything.
Talk about focus, Keinsmeyer with the brilliant call and great presence of mind from Johanna Dor to let that disc go past. And there's the big hook. Brechko's got plenty of those. That one slightly misread downfield. Also, I think that might have been Brumek who left the disc off earlier.
Yeah, I could see why the player came under. I actually thought it was going to be a 50-50, and then the disc just didn't seem to drop. So, again, I think just the wind, the weather playing a bit of an impact there. I think I would have also come under from that looking at it here. So, understandable misread from where I'm standing.
So, in case you weren't able to hear that, time is over. Symington with the disc. Score this point and add one. Spice need to make it a game to 10. You got to think a game to 11 is just a bit too far beyond them. At this stage, there's a hand block. The captain leading from the front. Brechko getting a big old denial on the Symington throw. Not an easy thing to do either. Symington, very accomplished handler. So now Brechko picking it up. This is a big moment right now. Keinsmeyer clears down the line. Brumek comes back to fill the handler's space. There's the shot across once again. Spice are so good at clogging up those open channels, stepping in and just making it difficult to get the completions. Now, I would love to see a massive hook here. We'll see what Spice decide to go with. Just how eponymous is their play style. It's another turnover. Brechko with the disc right outside the end zone. Looks to feed. Keneally collects, and that makes it 10-7.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there on the hook, I think it's a bit of a tough one to get from Spice, though. I just think, like I said, I think there's just a bit of a speed, maybe not so much of a height mismatch, but I just feel like the deep game area is just going to be favouring Catchup Grass. So I realised I think Spice have to try and work it the way they did there, and unfortunately, just they throw it into what I think was the poach, and yeah. But again, really good game, challenging conditions. And like we said, I think that point to take, the Galaxy point to take it, I think that just really shifted it back in the favour of Catchup, and it was always going to be a big uphill battle for Spice for the rest of it. But they've shown they can be really competitive, and again, this isn't, like I said, they're not here with any EUCS ranking games. Catchup, this is a ranking tournament for them. So if they play a team competing for points, those games will matter. But in this one, Spice, it didn't matter for Spice, so perhaps they're not as full strength for this. I believe there might have been a timeout, or
which I'm
unsure if there was a timeout.
Wasn't actually allowed because time had been called, but that's fine.
I'm not sure.
It's a de facto timeout. Whatever it is, the teams are taking a breather. Spice clearly ready to go. Wouldn't be surprised if they tried to call time a little bit, but it's been such a highly spirited, highly contested matchup that you can understand just giving a slight reprieve. 10-7, 3-point gap. Remember, this game was tied at 6-6 before Catchup Grass took half. 7-6, I should say, following the timed half. So now looking to finish things off. We have a game 2-11. Plenty more action still to come. We're only approaching halfway point in our day, and this game has taken an awful lot out of me. We had a fantastic matchup earlier on as well, as we saw Fui take on Steven Schwaben, and the future of Austrian Ultimate in the Austrian under-20 side, playing in our opening slot of the day. Still trying to find their feet out there. We wish them all the best in their European campaign. We've got the men's semi-final coming up after this, as well as the 2 finals, so plenty of action still to come, such as right now is Spice looking to fight their way back into this matchup. It all starts with this point. Mance looking, gets it back to Gibson. Gibson with the pirouette grab, and then a lovely flick break, just serving that one up. Now Gibson gets it back, wants to send it deep, doesn't like the De La Cruz cut. Same third, I understand, you don't want to send it over the top of her head, as accomplished a receiver as De La Cruz is. Now Gibson looks, throws it into a group of a few different players. Kwak is the one who winds up getting it. Kwak looks sent down the line. Mance collects. Mance stares down the pitch. No one immediately available. Kwak makes a move up the line. Gibson comes back for the break. Gibson collects. Now you can see Heather Gibson coming down the line like a locomotive, trying to get a bit of motion into this offense. But Catchup Graz doing a fantastic job. Look at that positioning just in the middle of the action zone by Boldure, just stopping so many downfield passes, forcing the dump resets. As you can see, the Gibsons having to resort to each other. Back into Kwak. Lovely little flick break. Can Kwak continue the good times onto the break side? No. Forced to go back to Gibson. Mance makes a move, as does Gibson. Gibson collects. Looks down the pitch. Kwak with a move to the far corner. Gibson takes it to De La Cruz right in the middle. That was ever so slightly a break, an acute angle. Gibson to finish. And it's collected by Kwak. That's a big time point. 10.
Yeah, just as they slot that one in, I start to feel the wind, and then I realised that was an upwind. Again, I think they're at the start of that point once they got the disc moving. A lot of their cutters were a bit too deep. They had to look off some deep shots. I think just in these conditions, you have to be aware of kind of what's a realistic throw. But the advantage for Spice here is with the throws that they have, they don't have to worry so much about that because they're able to get it out of the tighter spots. And I think we saw a lot of their more, like we call them, the intricate little inside throws and jump throws. I think they're not going to struggle as much as perhaps Catchup might in those situations. So maybe an adjustment they could make if they want to get their cutters a bit more involved is to start a little bit closer to the disc when they're playing upwind, and that way they're more of a threat deep. And when they don't get free deep, it's probably because the defender's tied, so they can come back, get a free under. But that's just on their cutters. But in terms of their handler play and keeping the disc alive, like I've said, I think they're the stronger team in that area, so I don't think they're going to struggle too much with keeping the disc moving when they're finding it harder to hit their cutters. So again, they got the job done. They made it look pretty comfortable, despite maybe not the disorganization, but just a little bit of structural adjustments they could make given the weather factors. So really confident point. And if they can
perhaps their most impressive offensive point of the game, John.
Possibly, yeah. And good pull here. It's going to roll a little bit, so let's see if they can get this break and potentially make this game a bit closer than I thought it was going to be a couple of minutes ago.
There's an awful lot of tension in the air. Let's see how Catchup Graz respond. It's another fantastic play all the way down. We've seen Ortner make some brilliant plays, had that crucial double happiness block and score earlier on. And that's it. Delectable, tasty little throw from Keinsmeyer to the break side, shooting, looking for the end zone, and it's just too far ahead of Brachko. Ooh.
Yeah, from here it looked like she was just running alongside the disc, but obviously she's someone who would make that play if it was there, so I guess it was just out of reach. But from here it looked like a really nice throw, and I actually thought the receiver was just going to run it down and just kind of basically running beside it into the end zone, but just out of reach. And Spice are going to get a chance here, but I think this is a tough situation, and I think the catch-up defense is going to put on a lot of pressure here if they want to get a short field turn and maybe kind of put this game to bed.
Here comes Spice, just a little bit too far ahead, but Trevino's there. They made an excellent play earlier on with a big layout grab, saving possession one more time. Lim looking to get the recycle. Big pressure from Brechko on the force. Lim able to get it just down the line. Trevino one more time. Trevino taking on a leadership role on this point. This is where it's all on the line. Wants to get it back to Lim. Nicely shut down initially. Trevino under a bit of pressure. Couldn't wait for Symington to get free. Forced to throw one over the top. Great presence of mind. Almost rescued from the clutches of gravity by Cinnamond, but in the end it goes to dirt.
Yeah, she did really well to get a second chance to potentially catch that disc. The first one was really tough. She had a bigger defender in front of her. Disc went over their heads and almost makes a spectacular second hand grab.
So Brechko picks up. Something of a jog downfield and right into traffic, immediately shut down. It did seem slightly lackadaisical. Momentary ponderance by Kansmeyer. Did I get fouled? Decides against it. Again, very high-spirited game. There's the quick throw over the top, caught by Symington. Symington looking for cuts. Lim makes one in the backfield. Now turning to go up the line, can't quite get off. Symington again forced to just launch one high over the top and rescued on the other side. Somehow that is a Spice score, and it's a spicy score line. 10-9.
Only one player there with their library card looking to read. Everyone else getting dragged in by the offensive player that I think maybe that throw was initially meant for. She manages to pull in two defenders, and then one player at the back just reads it. Nice focused catch. Again, it's a 1 point game now. I still feel the momentum is very much with Catchup. I'm not sure if Spice are going to be able to get two of these breaks, but you got to get that score to give yourself the chance. So again, still think all the momentum with Catchup. And let's see.
Give a big shout out to Johanna Robinson who made that grab, so I couldn't make out the number from where I was with the crowd. A crowd has accumulated for what is so far, for my money, game of the tournament. As right now Spice not willing to concede the field to the men's semi-final, which we have coming up next, which will be between Flying Ultimate Junta, who we saw in the quarterfinal, taking on Catchup Graz Open. So you can imagine the Catchup Graz Open boys are all here cheering on their club mates. As right now Spice clawing their way back in, but the wind has picked up, the rain has picked up. This will be a very difficult point for Spice to score to bring it to Universe. Let's see if they're capable of it. John, you're a betting man. Still comfortable with picking Catchup?
If they're smart enough here, I think the best thing to do is look to run an early play, shoot it deep, and just put on massive, intense defense on the turn. Force Spice I think, in fact, force Spice to complete a hook. Overload the underspace. Say to Spice, look, you have players who are capable of hooking, but we think the matchup that we fancy is if you want to throw it deep against us, that's how you're going to have to beat us. You could argue it's a bit risky, but I think Catchup play early here. Even if you get it wrong, you just put a ton of pressure on Spice to have to score that. And even then, if it doesn't work out, you still get Universe point anyway, starting with the disc.
Podstatsky with the disc. Sends it over. Brechko has to throw herself to the ground to pick that disc up, but does so. Straight into the center, Pansy, who has been so important for them all game long, goes back to Brechko. Brechko shoots deep, looking for Kanzemeyer. There's a lot of people in the vicinity, and that is teed up by Spice. Excellently done. So I think that might have been Symington who got the interception. Certainly looking to turn the offense. Yep, that's Symington getting right back to it. Working in coordination with Kira Moore. Back to Symington. Symington seems like she's planning to take on the role of leader during this point. That goes to Gibson. Gibson looks to lead down the line, just slightly too far ahead of Taylor.
So they did part one of my plan, and then they put pressure on the unders, but I think they need to be a bit more under there. I think Catchup were playing a bit risky on defense there. They were giving them the unders. Like I said, they had to take the unders at the start of the point and then shoot deep, and I would probably be looking to do the same thing again here. Obviously, if Spice are going to give you easy passes, it's fine, but...
Podstatsky down the line. Taken by Kansmeyer. Oh, sorry, that's not Kansmeyer. That was Johanna Dorr, who throws it straight into Gibson, trying to find Kansmeyer. The Gibson leading Symington. Oh, that's not an easy catch. Trailing edges, it's slowly falling away. Goes across to Taylor. Taylor, back to Moore. Moore trying to hit the middle space, but the defense is right there, forcing Gibson back under. You can see Wilkinson making a tearing cut, but that one just too far ahead now. Pansy throws it into Brechko. Brechko wants to shoot for the end zone. There's only two Catchup Graz players. It's caught, clap, catch, collect. Johanna Dorr shuts the door on the Spice comeback and books a place in the final for Catchup Graz. Congratulations to Catchup Graz. Commiserations to Spice. Thank you to both teams for a fantastic game. We will be back very shortly for the men's final. It is starting... well, it should have started 3 minutes ago, so we're just going to catch our breath. There's almost no need to turn off your channel. We will catch you right back here in a couple of seconds.
Ready? Yeah. 3 minutes behind.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.